He's Dan Batard of the Mothership who joins us now. Hi, Danny.
We're in day 4 of Ray Rice coverage. I believe the stages on this is levity is today. It's levity Thursday.
Oh, it is.
You got to be very, very serious the first 3 days.
What if TMZ did not release the second half of this video?
Yeah, you don't have this. We're all reacting to the reaction, Dan. It's not the action. It is not the action that got us. I mean, I imagine if we had the video of Greg Hardy in Carolina, whatever happened there with weapons, allegedly, and dragging a woman by her hair, I imagine we would react viscerally as well. We're a little naive about this stuff, man. I don't know what people expected that to look like, but once she's coming off unconscious off the elevator, that's what that's going to look like.
We are quick to call for somebody to get fired. Like when we want justice, we want it swift here. And my thought is there's nothing wrong with disciplining somebody, that not everybody has to lose their job. At what point do you say the commissioner needs to be replaced?
Well, I hate where we are in 2014, Dan, where it is very fast, the way the angry Twitter mob gathers, and then you've got a situation where everyone's trying to outrage one another. We have created a position here where basically the two choices, there's no nuance between these two choices. The choices are either Roger Goodell suffers the national indignity he's suffering right now, or the next exit ramp is you're fired. There are no stops between those two things. You either take away his $42 million a year job, or you just leave it where it is. And that's confusing to me. But he created this. You know, we love, Dan, we love the anti-gay politician or the anti-gay preacher who gets caught having a gay massage. We love that kind of story. And what you have here is a man who has ruled forever with an iron fist. The most punitive commissioner in the history of sports is now being judged with an iron fist. There is some symbolism there.
Yeah. What would you do if you're the owners right now, today?
Oh, I'd fire him. And I don't fire people. But he's replaceable, Dan. I don't know what you think his job is, okay? What's number one on his list? Is it to make money for the owners? I think a lot of people could do that. Yeah. Is it to protect the image of the league? Well, he's kind of hurting the image of the league right now because Ray Rice, this story has stopped being about Ray Rice. It's now about the commissioner. This story has stopped being about the action. The story's been hijacked by the people who want to talk about domestic violence, and I don't blame them. The same way the Richie Incognito, Jonathan Martin thing was hijacked by people who wanted to talk about bullying. It has stopped being about human beings. It's now about the cause and an issue. And Roger Goodell has been protecting the league's image. And look at what he's doing right now to the league's image. He's replaceable. Now, again, I wouldn't, me personally, with my sensibilities, I don't like firing people. I wouldn't be firing him. But is he replaceable or is he not?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, what single skill does he have that's not replaceable?
Well, as I was talking to the Danettes about this, and having understood what happens in those TV negotiations, there's really no negotiations. It's basically, here's our price, and if you don't like it, then keep moving here. So you can make money for the league. I don't think that's difficult. I think maintaining what the league is supposed to stand for and do that every day, that's the hard part here, and I don't think one man can do that.
Well, one of the things that he is, though, I don't know, how do you fill in the blank on this? His primary job is to what? Is it to protect the league's image? Is it to make money? Is it to lead? Or is it to be a piñata for the owners? Because he's just carrying out their work. They created this. It wasn't Roger Goodell who decided on his own, you know what, I'm going to create a Get Tough policy. And by the way, that Get Tough policy, that was real popular, and he was real popular just a few years ago, hammering employees. But now you see what's happening. The employees are all turning on him. The employees are being real loud about, okay, Bountygate? Remember Bountygate? Let's investigate this the way that you investigated Bountygate. Let's do it that way. Now you've got a problem on your hands when you've got an uprising among the employees. They're angry, and they're publicly vocal in a way, Dan, what are these guys this publicly vocal about, ever?
He's Dan Batard of the Mothership joining us, Dan Patrick Show. If you could sit down with Ray Rice or Roger Goodell, who would you want to interview?
I'm not sure at this point, Dan, what you're going to actually get from Roger Goodell. What I think is interesting about what just happened with his interview the other day, this thing has snowballed so largely that I don't think that we watched that interview to be open-minded to hear something that might change our mind, to hear something that made sense in the way of defending the NFL. I think we watched that interview simply to see, where are you going to trip, Roger?
Yeah.
What's the thing you're going to say that's wrong? Go ahead and say the thing. Where's the thing that I can pick at? And so, I mean, I don't like that exercise. I don't think there's anything Roger Goodell. I don't think there's anything anyone. This conversation is not about either one of them anymore. We are just reveling in the scandal with a giddiness that I find uncommon, and I find it unsettling. Like, there are a lot of people enjoying this fall, Dan, like delighting in the power guy crumbling, and it's disturbing.
Well, it's similar to Tiger Woods. Now, obviously for different reasons, but people had to kiss his butt for years, but they knew that they didn't like him or wasn't considered a good person. Then they got their shot, and then everybody zeroed in on the Tiger Woods piñata. Everybody did, including the golf world.
Well, actually, I thought what happened with Tiger Woods was more about the public feeling a little bit betrayed. We built him up, and we gave him the commercials that gave off Family Man, and then there was an anger and a betrayal in the Tiger Woods reaction. This just feels like people are delighting in the powerful falling because again, what I've told you is like he has been so heavy-handed in judging others, and now that judgment rains down on him.
But don't you think we feel betrayed by the commissioner, by the NFL, because we keep hearing about the brand, and they do things right, and there's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and 42% of their fan base female, and they do the right thing, and now all of a sudden you see what they're doing with domestic violence, so there's part of the people who want justice because of that.
Well, but that's also something that's happening here, Dan, and it's real easy for Ed on a mobile or Mike Florio, the blogger, or Dan Patrick and Dan Batard, the gas bags, to say now, this is what I would have done. This is how I would have handled it. I would have gotten everything right on the front end. I would have checked the video. We do this throughout sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
We play the result. They've got a scandal on their hands, so we all know exactly what we would have done, and I guarantee you, the next time this presents itself, the NFL will handle it correctly. But they were presented with something that doesn't have a precedent, right? Because we haven't had this scandal before in sports.
But Dan, I applied logic to this. I don't know everything involved in it, but if I sit down with Ray Rice and I ask him, Ray, explain what happened. I've only seen the other portion of the videotape. Tell me what happens in the elevator, and I'm going to take your word for it. But if the video comes out, then I'm going to suspend you indefinitely. So be honest with me. Or you say to him, your attorney has the tape or has access to it. I would like to see it just so it doesn't come back to haunt me if it ever gets out in social media.
Fair enough.
So those are just logical things that you would ask. It's not I'm in an ivory tower here. I'm just asking something logical.
I understand, Dan, but after 9/11, okay, we went through all sorts of security measures to protect the country, and then some guy, and he didn't know what he was doing, gets on an airplane with a shoe bomb, okay? And then we all started taking our shoes off at the airport because we all slapped our foreheads and said, man, we should really be checking shoes. The thing has to happen before all of us realize how we would have handled the situation. Of course, what you're saying now, in retrospect, clear-eyed, is the way to handle it. I'm not defending Roger Goodell. All of this feels either immoral, ignorant, or incompetent. I'm not defending Roger Goodell. I'm just saying it's real easy for us who aren't in position of power to have all the information in front of us now and react to it like leaders when we're not in a leadership position.
We don't have the information now.
Or the information we do have, which is that they've botched their investigation, and we do have videos, and of course they should have seen this video. But of course.
Why was he suspended indefinitely and fired?
Because the video came out. It was not the action that got him.
It was the reaction?
It was America's stomach turning, because it sounds like Ray Rice told them what happened on that elevator. Like, it sounds, from what Ozzie Newsome is saying, that there's a difference between hearing what happened and seeing it. For example, the Greg Hardy situation in Carolina, if you read those details,
oh, man.
Dan,
if you had videotape of that?
Correct.
Ooh.
But that's the difference.
Yeah,
the difference is we had partial video on this. Like, we had an unconscious woman. We had partial video on this, but there is a difference. If he says, for example, if Ray Rice comes in the meeting, here's what happened, okay? This, and this, and she spit in my face, and I spit in her face, and then she charged me, and then I punched her in the face, and I knocked her down. And his wife is in there with him and saying, yeah, that's how it happened, and she's saying, and this is how I contributed, X, Y, Z. Yeah, there's that, and you can absorb that. You can say it's horrible, and you can say 2-game penalty, which is worse than any we've given in this sport for first-time offender on domestic abuse. And then you see the video, and you're like, oh my God, it's worse than that.
Would you give Ray Rice a second chance?
Yeah, I would. But again, I'm lenient on these things. I personally wouldn't fire Roger Goodell, but I think that's where we're headed. We're headed toward, we're headed toward him being responsible for the things on. That land in and around his office. So I'm always for the second chances. I'm always for forgiveness. I'm always for empathy. I've been very critical of Roger Goodell over the years. Like, this has been a pretty sudden turn here, Dan. Like, you remember when he was popular? Do you remember when all this stuff, heavy-handed stuff, was being applauded by the masses? This is an amazing bit of symbolism we've arrived at here. If the most punitive commissioner in the history of sports ends up losing his $42 million a year job because he wasn't punitive enough.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Dan Le Batard, Mothership.